do a mic check, see how it sounds. So it's not too loud. We'll see here. That seems pretty good, right? Oh dear. How's so my mic volume should be fine, but the audio seems loud. Let's probably back it off a little bit. Okay. Something like that. Something like that. Doesn't sound too bad. See how that goes. It's almost quiet for me. Okay, somewhere in that range, go to try. See if we can get this set up again. Oops. Okay, so we have... Yeah, I probably can't have musics while I'm thinking. So we've got Genesis 1:26 through 29. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Then God said, "Behold, I have given every plant yielding seed, that is on the surface of the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed, and it shall be for food for you. Okay, so that's the section we're looking at here. It's all pretty big. Let's see. Let's back off or zoom a bit here. Okay. What are your thoughts on Genesis 1, 26 to 29? Then after resting the seventh day, Genesis 2, 2 and 3, creating man in Genesis 2, 7 and woman quite a bit later in Genesis 2, 21. Okay, so let's get this lined out here. Here we have Gen 1, verse 26 through 29. And then let's get Genesis Gen 2, verse 2 through 3. Let's grab that one. So that's going to be Gen 2. Okay. So that's verse 26. And then this is 2 and 3. Should turn off annotations when I copy stuff. And then let's grab, looks like there's one more here. Gen 2, 7. Options. Oh, let's see, let's get rid of footnotes for now. Verse numbers and headings I think are important. We'll leave that there. Okay, 2 verse 7. Okay. Paste that here. And then 221. 2v21. Let's grab that. Copy pasta. Okay, so now I got all the passages we're looking at right here. So now I don't need this one up, at least for now. So let's go ahead and resize this. Okay. View. Can I split view? Mode. Oh, no. No, I can't. Okay. So God creates man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the sky and over every living thing that moves on the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you. Then Genesis 2, by the seventh day, God completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. Then the Lord God formed man of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at the place. I think I need more from that section. It's talking about making woman. I think I need 22 as well. Copy. So I think I guess one question to ask. Let's see. Questions to ask. Is there a way that this could have been humans other than Adam and Eve? Okay, so I've got to return the text, see if I can answer this question. So if we go back to Gen 1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening and there was morning one day. Then God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and separate the waters from the waters." God made the expanse, separated the waters which were below the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and morning a second day. Okay, so then we go into the expanse of the waters creation, then we go into the next day, lights in the expanse, sun, moon, stars. Then we go God creating creatures in the waters, and God telling the creatures to be fruitful and multiply in the waters, and then God brings living creatures on the land. Okay, then we have 26, then God said, "Let's make man in our image." So far, it appears to be the whole world is being created. There's a specific call that he said, and then he also says here, "I've given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be for food for you, and every beast of the earth, and every bird of the sky, and everything that moves on the earth that has life, I've given you a green plant for food." And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. There's evening and there's morning, the sixth day. Okay. So it does appear that there's this garden, and there's a specific message to humankind. But Adam and Eve, at least by name, are not specifically mentioned. So thus the heavens and the earth were completed and all their hosts by the seventh day. God completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. So that seems to be the end of a section, very poetic and general in nature. And so I guess we have two options. Either it is poetry telling the story of Adam and Eve, or it's telling the story of creation, and then Adam and Eve are people, two humans, out of a bunch of humans that have been made. Okay, I could see where that argument can come from. I tend to be of the thought that he's referring to Adam and Eve being made, but I'm not sure. So I want to see if I can pull that from the text itself. So starting in Genesis 2:4, this is the account of the heavens and the earth, as they were created in the day that the Lord made earth and heaven. Now no shrub of the field was yet on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprouted, and the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to cultivate the ground. Okay. So at some point there was no man to cultivate the ground. So this is seems to be a retelling, because we've heard this narrative a little bit differently stated in Genesis 1. Okay. So at that point, there's no man at this point. Then the Lord God formed man of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living being. Okay, so far, it's still man in general. Then the Lord God planted a garden toward the east in Eden, and there he placed the man, whom he had formed. It appears to be like the man is indicating that it's not one of many, but one man that he had formed. Not one plucked out of many, but one man. Though it's not explicit that that's what's going on here. Out of the ground the Lord God caused to grow every tree that is pleasing to the sight and good for food. The tree of the life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now a river flowed out of Eden, and from there it divided into 4 waters. Okay, so now we go into the talk of the waters. So we have the man in the garden for some period of time. So God has taken the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to cultivate it and to keep it. So we still have the man, so we still have just one singular man in the garden to cultivate it and to keep it. The Lord God commanded the man, saying, from any tree of the garden you may eat freely, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat from it you will surely die. Okay, so now we have... Then the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. Out of the ground the Lord formed every beast of the field and every bird of the sky, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called a living creature, that was its name. Okay, so Adam names all of the creatures. No suitable helper is found. Then the Lord puts him to sleep and takes one of his ribs and fashioned into a woman. So again we have singular, so it seems to be Adam and Eve as singular, or the first man and the first woman. For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. The man and his wife are both naked, and the man and his wife are both naked and were not ashamed. So it seems to be just the two of them at this point. So what are your thoughts on Genesis 1:26 to 29, and then after resting the seventh day, Genesis 2:2-3, creating man in Genesis 2:7, and woman quite a bit later in Genesis 2:21. Okay. So if we look at in Genesis 1:26 to 29, we have God saying, let us make man in our own image. So if we go side by side again and look at Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, okay, God forming man here. So I guess this is different than and that occurred at some point on the 6th day. But then Genesis 2 seems to have a little bit of a different narrative of how it went about. So I think my take on this is that it's the one man, Adam, and the one woman we come to know as Eve. And Genesis 1 is kind of giving us kind of the entrance to the Bible, or the very first book, as an overview of everything that happened in more of a poetic way, or a varied structured way, and then Genesis 2 is giving us more detail for that same story. Both of them setting up God as creator and the character of God, giving different aspects of it, and setting us up for what comes in chapter 3, the fall of man. So that would be my take on it. Let me see if there's more to this question that I'm missing. What are your thoughts on Genesis 1, 26 to 29, and then after resting the seventh day, Genesis 2, 2 and 3, creating man in Genesis 2, 7, and woman quite a bit later in Genesis 2, 21. So I guess the question would be, does anything in Genesis 2, 7 and 2, 21 and 22 contradict Genesis 1, 26 to 29? I guess this piece isn't super important in this section. I would answer, well, let's make this a little bit better notation. And we'll give it an answer. The text in Gen 2 does indicate that one man, the man, and one woman, the woman, were made in the creation story. Okay. So parentheses there and that. So I need, we need to go back to Genesis 2. I need 8 as well. Okay. Oops. There you go. So let's give this a little bit of color. It has more color. I thought it had more colors, but that's okay, I guess. Let's go for a green. Okay. Let's do this and this. Okay. So now I have that part of it kind of lined out. See green below. There we go.
Joshua.
All right, then probably don't need to turn that off. So then let's match this. Okay. So we've got those pieces of the story here. Back to the question. So what are my thoughts? So in the first text, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. God created man in his own image, and in the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Then God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be your food. It shall be food for you. Okay. So there's no real timeline information there that would seem to contradict anything in Genesis 2. But we do have God not making them at the same time. But God has brought them together. Okay, and there's no time information here. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made earth and heaven. Yeah, that seems fine in connection to Genesis 1. Maybe what we can do is just do a quick look at Genesis 1 as different from Genesis 2. That's not why. This is probably simpler. Okay, so we have the earth as formless and void, but God was there. And God said, let there be light. And we have day and night. Okay, then we have this expanse. And God calls the expanse heaven, or at least the first heaven, so to speak. There's evening, there's morning, a second day. Okay, so this is expanse, evening and morning, the second day. Now then the waters are gathered, order is brought to them, dry land appears. And it sprouts vegetation. That's the third day. So then, now here, no shrub of the field was yet in the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprouted. For the Lord had not sent rain, and there was no man to cultivate the ground. So, it doesn't seem to indicate that plants don't exist, but it does seem to indicate that they haven't really grown and begun to flourish because God hasn't sent rain and there's no cultivation. Okay, we go to day 4. And then we have living things. Day 5. Then day 6 we have creatures and man. Living creatures on the land. So this doesn't necessarily say that there aren't animals. Genesis 2 verse 5 does not seem to indicate that there aren't animals, but they're not specifically mentioned. And then we have man being formed. Okay, so I don't see any contradiction. It's definitely a different phrasing in the story. And God creates this garden, brings flourishing in the garden, in rivers. And God puts man there to cultivate it and keep it. And gives a command. Then at some point, at least sequentially in the narrative of Genesis 2, there are these events, and then God creates woman. And then they are together. And that's the end of creation. So at some point in the sixth day, God creates woman as well. Okay, so I would say I don't see any direct contradictions between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, but the way they portray the information is distinctly different. Yeah, I wouldn't see them as contradictory, but I personally don't believe that they're indicating that there were other men and women created at the time of Adam and Eve, which does make the, at least now, socially awkward situation of how did we get from Adam and Eve to a whole population with conventional intermarrying between siblings being taboo. And I believe for good reason, as comes later. But I think that's what the text says. At least that's where I would stand at this point. I think that's as far as I can get without clarifying from this person what they were, if there was more to their prompt question. Is there any evidence of passage of time in the Genesis 2 between man being made in verse 7? Yeah, no specific passage of time information. So I do think that all of Genesis 2 could have happened on day, or all of the section where men and women are created could have happened on day 6, which would mesh with the narrative we see in Genesis 1. I think that's as far I can get without clarifying more with this friend what their question meant. Well, a little shorter study than I thought it would be. I think that's where I stand on the matter. Let me add that to the answer here, and then we'll probably call it there. Thanks for watching.